Okay. Well, hello, my name is Bryan. I am a senior management major at UNC Asheville with a concentration in business administration. And my summer internship that I performed was for the Appalachian Sustainable Agriculture Project. ASAP is a nonprofit based in Asheville, which links local farmers to markets, supporters, consumers, etc. And I worked with the operations team on several different projects and learned a great deal and gained a lot of experience in the day-to-day workings of a nonprofit organization. In addition to administrative tasks such as filing, printing, mailing, organizing, taking minutes for meetings, etc., my internship consisted of several different projects, including my main one, retroactive study of the sales and customer behavior data at the Asheville city markets. The project began with me collecting and organizing vendor sales data and other pieces of financial information, which I'll go into more detail shortly. Also, I made collections calls for the local food guide. This is another project I worked on that I was given a list of contact information and names for farms and businesses that had yet to pay their fees to be listed in the guide. I made my own script, made the calls, and then collected the outcomes of each call. I also completed several other miscellaneous projects, including researching options for a bike rack for the office, arranging carpet estimates, and designing a drug-free awareness poster to meet regulations. The major component of my internship that I enjoyed the most was the opportunity to wear many different hats and work in many different parts of the organization. Through the various projects I completed and working on my deliverable, I believe I gained great real-world experience. My project resulted in a report that researched the financial info from 2012 to 2014, made comparisons between sales, expenses, external forces, and more. I found several bike rack options, arranged several carpet measurements and quotes, and the LFG listing calls resulted in 30 businesses and farms making payments which raised $2,410 for ASAP. Some things that I learned over the course of my internship were to be confident in my knowledge and my capabilities. There were several opportunities where my confidence was boosted because I picked up things pretty quickly and I knew what to do with my project and with the others that I worked on. From being able to follow the conversations during the ops team meetings, performing the calls, or even just using previous work experience such as being able to count money really fast, I learned to trust in myself. Also, be adaptive and versatile. Over the course of my internship, there were also moments where I had to do things either new to me or different than I had done before. Even just the simple switch from primarily using Microsoft Office to using Google Drive provided a learning experience. All of these helped me to work outside of my comfort zone. I also learned a great deal about project management and managing multiple projects at one time. I realized how factors outside of your control can really impact a project and how as a leader you need to be flexible in working around these things to complete deadlines and meet requirements. Along with this preparation, planning, and organization, by preparing and going through over my notes before the meeting with Mike, I was more confident and more professional than I feel I would have been otherwise. And also just going over organizing all the financial data and my notes to plan out the project helped me to be able to accomplish all that I set out to do. Also, I learned a bit about what it takes to work in this environment and that I really enjoyed what I worked on. I loved having multiple projects going on at one time and also how to be self-reliant to guide myself. Because of all this, I feel my summer internship was a successful experience. And as I mentioned previously, my primary project that I worked on was internship was a research analysis of the customer behavior data at the Asheville city markets. Customer behavior data can allow markets to predict sales, growth, and more. This project hopes to make recommendations on how to improve data collection and promotional programs by collecting and organizing vendor income, expense data, and reviewing forces that impact the market. First, I'll go through the methodology that I used, then go over discussion and analysis of the results, and then I'll make recommendations. So the first step was to collect and organize the data from 2012 to 2014 and then separate them out into different categories. The Asheville City Market merchant fees, expenses, ad invoice dates, and contract labor were all taken from the ACM income and expense reports. They were totaled up for each month and then, if applicable, separated out based on which market they applied to. The token sales were taken from merchant services income reports and then separated by EBT, debit, credit, into the number of sales and the cash amount of sales, and then totaled for each month. The estimated attendance used the local food research center's formula from a previous study, which is based on the number of credit card swipes. And using LFG data, I was able to determine the number of markets for Asheville and Buncombe County, and also utilize other cities included in the LFG. For cities that I studied that were not included in the LFG, I used online data from city websites and other listings of farmers markets. The population data was taken from US Census, and weather data was used an online historical weather database for Asheville. So now for the analysis. There is a possible correlation between advertising and token sales and attendance. Year 2013 had the highest amount spent on advertising and promotions in 1 month, around $3,000 in May, and also the third highest amount in June. July and August 2013 had the largest amount of sales in the study, and the estimated attendance follows the same pattern. In fact, year 2013 had the highest amount of sales and attendance by a wide margin, $13,000 more in sales and $4,500 more in attendance than 2014, which was the second most. It should be noted that, as Dawn mentioned before, 2013 had a budget surplus that allowed more funds to be allocated for advertising and promotion. And there are other factors such as the mid-June spike in sales from the North Asheville tailgate market being closed during UNCA graduation. However, even with these taken into account, the data does seem to show that promotional programs may increase sales and attendance. Another variable I wanted to test was the external forces and how they impact the weather, or how the weather impacts the market. Using the database, I took a comparison was made between the percentage of rainy and snowy days per month in Asheville to the amount of token sales. However, the data didn't really show a correlation one way or the other. The July 2013 had the highest percentage of rainy days, but also the highest sales for the year. And comparing year to year, the percentage goes down in the month of July, meaning there are less rainy days, but the sales do also. Therefore, the data available does not show a correlation. This should be a metric to track in the future to see if the accurate records of the weather at the market can be utilized to see if there is a possible correlation. There's also wasn't really a correlation between contract labor, live music, and attendance or sales either. The only clear pattern is a consistent drop in the expense during June, which picks back up after that. However, June is the peak month for sales. Even still, the contract labor, attendance, and sales are all highest during the summer months, which is to be expected. Each year, the amount of contract labor spent increased, but attendance fluctuated. Further data would have to be analyzed to determine if there is a correlation. And the final analysis was between the relationship of farmers markets and population, and specifically Asheville and Buncombe County's population to the number of farmers markets. Between 2012 and 2014, Asheville markets grew from 9 to 11, and Buncombe went from 13 to 14. And Asheville's population grew by 2,100, and Buncombe grew by nearly 6,000. A comparison was done of the number of markets to the population size of 2013, and this was used to determine how Asheville ranks in relation to other cities. The cities chosen were first by the largest cities covered in the local food guide, and then by the largest populated in North Carolina cities. By dividing the population by the number of markets, you find the number of people per market, or the market to population ratio. It should be stated that the number of markets for other cities were not verified, but estimates using online research. And also the number of farms in each area and the number of vendors in each market were also not included in the study. But on a purely population-based analysis, results show that Asheville had the lowest market pop ratio, or the most markets per capita, even though it has the fourth smallest population. Charlotte, with the highest population in comparison, would need to have 91 markets to have the same ratio that Asheville has. Further research would need to be completed to determine the accuracy of the other cities. However, the cities covered by ASAP, Asheville definitely has the most.
So that's a good thing? Sorry.
Huh?
Can I interrupt and ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that a good thing that the slide?
Well,
That Asheville has we have the most markets per population? Is that per capita? Is that true? Okay.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, whether or not, compared to other cities, whether or not there's room for growth.
Okay.
But, there are other factors to be taken into account as well. But population-wise, we have more markets.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So if the project were to be repeated, some recommendations for data collection and records would be to track external forces, like I mentioned before, weather, closings. This would make the compiling the data easier, and it would ensure that patterns are accurate. Also track the when merchant fees were collected and where they weren't collected. This ensures accurate info so that the ACM fees are not skewed one way or the other. And some type of quick reference for the number of vendors each market day. Even on days when no fees are collected, this would help to track an increase or decrease in sales. Also, some type of vendor sales metrics. Track the amount of customers spent, purchased, and cash records would greatly increase the ability to study customer behavior. However, it may not be as easy to track. Also, consistent tracking of the number of token sale transactions. Most of the merchant service income entries had the number of transactions, but quite a few did not, and I noted that later in the report, so some of them are slightly off because of that. And also utilize the differences between tokens sold and tokens redeemed, which you and me had talked about before. And I saw in Mike's reports that they rarely matched up. So utilizing this difference would help to, this difference can help skew the projected attendance estimates. This project showed several trends and patterns. Sales and attendance seem to increase with advertising and promotions expense. And however, some of the predicted correlations didn't really show up. Contract labor and weather didn't really seem to impact the data. And connection between population and market showed that Asheville may have more markets than any other regional city. With the recommendations for the future, this is an easy replicable study that can be utilized to further explore the customer behavior at the Asheville City Market. So thank you to everyone at ASAP, and thank you Caroline, Dawn, and Kristen for letting me be a part of your team this summer, and also to Robin and Mike. It's been a great experience. Thank you.
Great.